Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with an update on the current situation here in Spain, day 397 of the current situation. And with all of the recent problems we've had surrounding vaccines, the European Union was yesterday forced to activate their Plan B, and they have announced that they are going to bring forward the delivery of some 50 million doses of the Pfizer vaccine. But more about that in just a moment. Firstly, a big thanks to all of the people that left comments on the last video. Lots of comments, lots of debate happening there as usual. Thanks to people that supported the channel through a donation. You can see your name here. Thanks to people that bought merchandise, and a big thanks to my patrons on Patreon for your support. Now let's get into the news, and as I said, there has been a lot of confusion recently in the European Union surrounding vaccines. We've seen the AstraZeneca vaccine have its fair share of problems over the last few months, and recently problems with the Janssen vaccine. But never fear, because European politicians are on the job. As we can see from this headline, Pfizer brings forward delivery of 50 million vaccines to the EU before summer. Pfizer will bring forward the delivery of 50 million COVID-19 vaccines. They were scheduled for the last quarter of the year, but after the breakdown caused by AstraZeneca and the suspension of shipments by Johnson & Johnson, the European Commission has managed to agree on an express service. This was announced this afternoon by President Ursula von der Leyen. Spain would be allocated around 5 million doses, as the distribution will be per capita based on population. So some good news announced yesterday by the European Commission that they're going to be able to bring forward the delivery of those 50 million doses of the Pfizer vaccine, but will it be enough to reach the EU's vaccination targets? That's the question. Now, the suspension of the Janssen vaccine here in Spain came as a bit of a shock to a lot of people, especially those between the ages of 70 and 79 that were preparing to be vaccinated this week with that vaccine. It's still not exactly clear when Janssen vaccinations will resume here in Spain, and as we can see here, the Health Ministry will wait for the EMA assessment before administering Janssen's vaccines. We are going to be cautious, they say. Spain will wait for the European Medicines Agency to issue its report on the safety of the Janssen vaccine against the coronavirus to begin distributing and administering them after some cases of thrombosis paralyzed the campaign in the United States. We're going to be cautious, confirmed the Minister of Health, Carolina Darias, after the meeting of the Interterritorial Council of the Health System with the autonomous communities. So the government here in Spain deciding to err on the side of caution when it comes to the Janssen vaccine. But what are the risks involved with this vaccine, I hear you ask? Good question. One newspaper here in Spain led with this headline today that you are more likely to be struck by lightning than to suffer a blood clot after vaccination. The chance of suffering a thrombotic event after receiving AstraZeneca's drug is 0.5 to 1 in a million, less than the chance of smoking, taking the contraceptive pill, or ending up in hospital for COVID-19. Vaccination with Janssen's drug is currently in limbo, with its launch in Europe stalled on the day it was scheduled to begin inoculation in Spain. The cause is the same as that which has slowed down and made the criteria for administering the AstraZeneca drug chaotic: blood clots. And the newspaper puts the possible risks in perspective with this graph showing the real risk of being vaccinated against COVID-19. We can see that there is a 0.0001% chance of getting a blood clot from AstraZeneca, and there is a 0.00008% chance of getting a blood clot from Janssen. But there's a 16.5% chance of getting a blood clot if you get COVID-19, and there's a 2.27% chance of dying in Spain if you get COVID-19 also. So there we go. After seeing that graphic, it's clear that the risks associated to vaccination are minimal. In fact, you've got more chance of winning the Christmas lottery than getting a blood clot after taking one of those vaccines. But the European Union has apparently made it clear that they want nothing more to do with Janssen or AstraZeneca from now on. As we can see from this headline, the European Union will not renew vaccine contracts with AstraZeneca and Johnson & Johnson. The Italian newspaper La Stampa reports that Brussels has decided not to renew the purchase of vaccines with the Anglo-Swedish pharmaceutical company AstraZeneca and the American Johnson & Johnson after the side effects and problems generated by their vials against the coronavirus. Now, as we know, here in Spain, we currently have a state of alarm in place which is going to end on the 9th of May. And the tourism minister came out yesterday and said that she expects domestic tourism to return after that date. As we can see here, Minister Reyes Maroto assures that bookings have shot up after that date, but hoteliers respond that they have stopped like never before. The state of alarm will end a priori on the 9th of May, and on that day Spain will regain mobility as announced by Reyes Maroto. The Minister of Industry, Trade and Tourism affirms that bookings from the mainland to the islands have shot up. The fact that the state of emergency has not been extended will undoubtedly mean a resumption of domestic travel. In fact, I can already announce that bookings from the mainland to the islands have shot up, the Minister of Tourism said. However, the reality conveyed by the tourism sector is very different. Hoteliers in different parts of Spain prefer to be cautious and say that although this rise has been somewhat noticeable, they are already looking ahead to the summer. So, Canary Islands, 10th of May, watch out because here I come. According to that minister, with the end of the state of alarm, mobility will return to the country. Now let's have a look at some of the health data here in Spain, looking at the vaccination campaign and general health data around the country. As we can see here, vaccination has been completed on 6.71% of the population, or 3.185 million people, and at least 17.39% of the population have received at least one dose, in other words 8.25 million people. Countrywide health data now, we can see the total amount of cases, the accumulated incidence rate now hitting the 200 mark. There have been 265 COVID-related deaths reported in the last 7 days. There are currently 9,795 people hospitalised around the country with COVID, and there are 2,153 people currently in ICUs, which is around 21.5% of all ICUs in the country. But the ICU situation is a lot worse in some autonomous communities, for example Madrid, where it's now around 40%. Now, Prime Minister Sanchez addressed the Parliament here in Madrid yesterday, announcing some of his grandiose plans for the future when he gets his hands on some of that 140 billion euros of European aid. And as we can see here, there are 10 investment projects that will absorb 70% of European funds. A total of 10 major investment projects will absorb just over 50 billion euros over the next 3 years, an amount that represents approximately 72% of the almost 70 billion euros in European fund transfers planned up to 2023. And to have a look at some of these investment projects, we can see that number one is a strategy for sustainable, safe and connected mobility, with resources of more than 13.2 billion euros for actions such as electrification of public roads, charging points or incentives for the purchase of electric vehicles, such as the Moves 3 plan approved this Tuesday by the Council of Ministers. The second biggest project relates to a housing rehabilitation and urban regeneration program with resources of 6.82 billion euros. This block includes actions such as the installation of solar panels and for greater energy efficiency in housing. And the third biggest project is the modernisation of public administrations, with 4.315 million euros earmarked above all to reinforce digitalisation and avoid excessive temporary employment of public employees. So there we go, just 3 of the 10 projects that Mr. Sanchez has planned to revitalise the Spanish economy over the next few years. And if you're looking to get your hands on an electric car, now is the time to do it here in Spain. Now let's have a look at some of the comments from previous videos. One here from Super Swek: Spain needs to get its act together so Spain can get on the UK's green list. Spain needs to save the summer. Yeah, Super Swek, thanks for the comment, and it was a fairly popular comment, got lots of thumbs up and a few replies. And you're right, Spain does need to get its act together when it comes to the health situation, not only to get on the UK's green list, but to get on other countries' green lists as well, so that people can come here and enjoy a holiday. The UK is a very important source for tourism here in Spain. In fact, I think it's the most important source. And as we can see here from this headline from 2019, about a third of British people choose Spain for their holidays. So let's get our act together and get on those green lists. Now I just want to interrupt the video there and ask you guys a favor. Somebody got in contact with me the other day telling me that his son is in the ICU in Barcelona and he wants to know if somebody can give him a hand, especially when it comes to dealing with the hospital there in Barcelona, especially in Catalan. So if anybody's in Barcelona or Catalonia, has language skills in Catalan or in Spanish and is willing to lend this person a hand, please contact me below. There's a link there for a contact page and you can get in contact with me and I'll pass that information on to the gentleman concerned. So thanks for your help and back to the video. One here from Hayden J: loving the daily updates. Why do you always refer to Benidorm when speaking about British tourists, Stuart? A tiny minority of Brits that travel to Spain end up in Benidorm. I don't know a single one, in fact. I know there's a big British party scene there, but the vast majority holiday elsewhere. Yeah, Hayden, thanks for the comment. The reason I mentioned Benidorm is because it's the one that normally springs to mind. And it is the place here in Spain where I have seen the most amount of Brits congregated in the one spot, especially if you go to that Rincon de Loix area. But then again, I've never been to places like Magaluf. I've been to the Costa del Sol various times during the summer over the years. Sure, there are a lot of British people down there, but you don't seem to notice the concentration in the same way that you do in Benidorm. And that's probably why I refer to it more often than other places. But I could be wrong, so let me know in the comments section if I am. One here from Terry. Stuart, I have to thank you for your daily updates, which I find very informative. However, I feel sorry for you having to read the daily comments, as I shall stop reading them from today onwards. Unfortunately, they seem to have reduced themselves, in the main, to an EU versus Brexit war, with vile unnecessary comments from both sides of the debate. I won't name names, but certain commenters stand out on both sides. Yeah, Terry, thanks for the comment, and you're right, the comment section can get a bit out of control from time to time. It's been like this for the last year or so, ever since the pandemic began. In fact, even before that, we had some people that were a little bit extreme with their comments. If I post a video on Spain and Portugal, which I have done in the past, comparing the two countries, it's quite often to see a war break out between Portuguese people and Spanish people, telling us which country is better and just how bad the other country is. The EU Brexit war in the comment section that we have seen in recent times, obviously spurred on by all of the vaccine problems that we have had with AstraZeneca. And there's some people that every day feel that they have to whinge about Spain, and of course we get Spanish people who like to defend their country and then complain about the United Kingdom or England. I won't mention the names of those people, but we all know who they are. And to be honest, I go through the comment section fairly quickly to look for this type of comment, not to pay much attention to the other type of comment that you mentioned there. But the comment section here is a very important part of the community, and I don't want to turn it off, because we can still learn some interesting things about the country and get people's opinions and thoughts of some of the things that are happening in the country at the moment. And that, as I said, is one of the main reasons why I leave the comments on. One here from JF. Once people retire, their consumption goes way down, leading to lower demand. They basically leave the economic engine not just on the production side, but the consumption side, leading to a smaller economy. If everyone over the age of 55 retired, the overall GDP of Spain would shrink incredibly, leading to even fewer opportunities for youth. That's the reality. That's why it's a good idea to have people work while they are older. Yeah, JF, thanks for the comment, and thanks for putting that side of the argument forward. We have seen here in recent times how the Social Security Minister wants people to keep on working, and he's talking about offering them some type of cash incentive to do so. And you might be right, the longer people work, the more money they inject into the economy. I've seen here in Spain, when some people retire, they do take an income hit. Obviously, sometimes the pension they receive is not as much as the salary that they were earning before. I know that was the case of my girlfriend's parents. They seemed to have a better lifestyle before retirement came along. Her father was making quite a good salary that allowed them to travel. It allowed them to go to nice restaurants every now and again. But of course, when they retired, they went on to the pension, which is around 2,000 euros a month. And as I said, a lot less than he was earning before. So that could be the philosophy of the Social Security Minister. Keep people working longer and keep them spending money longer and keep that consumption demand high. I don't know. Let us know what you think. And finally, one here from Don. Hi Stuart, thanks for your recent updates. I had a great return to work, only part-time at the moment, but at least we're heading in the right direction. Had a call yesterday from what I presume was the HO Andalusia Health Department giving me an appointment for my jab tomorrow at my local health centre. Must admit I was impressed, as the lady I spoke to rattled it off in Spanish, which I understood. She then, realising I was English, repeated the details in perfect English. Bless her. Hey ho for tomorrow, then what? Take care, mate. Keep up the great work. Yeah, Don, thanks for the comment, and good to see things heading in the right direction when it comes to your job here in Spain. I remember your comment from a couple of weeks ago telling us that you had been called up again after being in a furlough scheme, I presume, for some time. And good to see another example of Spanish efficiency when it comes to the vaccination plan here in Spain, or at least in Andalusia. We saw another comment from somebody the other day saying something similar, telling us just how impressed they were by Spanish efficiency. And as you mentioned there, the lady that called you going out of her way to make sure that you understood exactly what she said. So Andalusia, it seems, taking the vaccine campaign seriously. On that note, I'll start to wrap the video up. Questions and comments, please leave them in the section below. Debate the situation out as you normally do. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. I'll see you in the next one. Hasta luego.